Hey everyone, happy Tuesday. Welcome to the Sackhoff Show. Thank you so much for being here. I truly appreciate you. I am really excited about today's episode. But before we get there, I want to remind you all to stick around for the hindsight. That's where we talk about everything that's going on in our lives and also, the world. But we also answer fan questions, and it's a really great time. And as usual, I highly suggest you check it out. We're building a really fun community over there. And also send those questions to the sackhoffshow@gmail.com if you want us to, read your question and talk about it, whatever, or just, send over how much you love the show. That's always fun too. But if you hate the show, please don't send it over because we don't care. Moving on. Today's guest is the wonderful, talented Alexandra Breckenridge. I have known Alex since 1998. She and I did a little show together called Locust Valley. And there were so many wonderful people on it, but it was one of Aaron Paul's first shows. It was my first show, Alex's as well. I met one of my best friends on the show. It was a wonderful, wonderful group of people. It didn't get picked up, obviously, or you would know about it. But that's how we met, and we lost touch. But I've always followed her career, and especially now with Virgin River. And it is just a show that keeps going. If you don't know who Alexandra is, she is from This Is Us. She is from Virgin River. She's from The Walking Dead. I'm sure you'll recognize her. Virgin River is on its 6th season. So if you are like most of the people in the world and have Netflix, I'm sure you have seen Alex's face. She is wonderful. We talk about her life in Georgia and her kids and acting, and basically, we catch up and talk about what we've both been doing for the last 25 years since we've seen each other. So without further ado, my friend, Alexandra Breckenridge.
Hi, how are you doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm pretty good.
Yeah. It is so weird to talk to you after like 25 years.
Yeah.
Does it seem strange to you as well?
I don't know. Kind of.
Yeah.
Kind of not really. I mean, I just, I'm aware. Like, I was always obviously aware of you and your work throughout the years and stuff. So it's just like, I don't know. I mean, acting is one of those weird things where it's like summer camp and you go and you do a job with a bunch of people and you become like sometimes very, very close, and then you just don't see them again. And normal people out in the wild don't understand that, but
they have no concept of it. No. I try to explain it to people a lot that you can be spending the amount of time that we do with actors when we're on location or like on a job and have just intense, wonderful friendships with them and then never see them again. It is
it's weird.
The weird part of our business. I think the thing that is weirdest for me, or that I'm like holding on to, is that we were so young. And now, I mean, we're still very young in my opinion, but like we could be the parents of those children.
Oh, yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. I mean, I think I was 17.
You were. Yeah.
I don't think I was an adult.
You were not.
And when I was doing those jobs, I would just like lie about having a GED.
Did you really? Because I thought you had your GED.
I know. Nobody checked back then. I'm sure they check now.
Did your mom have to come to set with you?
No.
Interesting.
I don't know why. I think it's past a certain age. It's after like, I think maybe 15 or 16.
Yeah. Yeah.
You don't have to have a guardian with you, but you have to have had your GED in order to not do school during the day.
Yeah. Because I
So
remember.
I was just like, I'm not doing school.
Well, that's good for you because I remember my first job and I did, and it was ridiculous. It was like, it was the weirdest thing. No, like one-on-one attention. And I was like, I don't get this much attention at regular school. Why am I? It was awful. It was not fun. Not at all.
No, but also you're being like thrust from like you're in this creative space and then you're thrust into like analytical thinking. And it's just, as a child, it's like you're doing 2 jobs in a day, which is also kind of, I don't know, it doesn't really make sense.
It's pretty
They think
jarring.
they're doing something for the kids, but it's just, I actually think that it's not productive.
Yeah, I agree.
Anyway.
So that show was pivotal in so many people's lives because it's, I mean, I met Melissa Marsala, who became, just one of my closest girlfriends. And I don't know what it was about the two of us. I think it's that she was just insane enough to pull me out of my shell because I was so quiet as a kid. At least I think I was. And then Aaron Paul, which is so weird. Have you seen Aaron since then?
No, I know.
It's crazy. It's so funny. I have seen him a few times since then, and I can't watch Breaking Bad because...
Oh, I know. It's weird.
It feels weird. It feels very strange.
I watched Breaking Bad, and it was, he's amazing in it. And, but yeah, God, I remember his character. He was like really crazy. Didn't he have spiky hair or something?
Yes. He was like wacky and crazy and like would sit on top of weird furniture. Like when we were filming, like he would pick the weirdest places to sit during scenes. Yeah. A little did I know.
He was really
brilliance.
Really in character. Oh, yeah. And then the other 2 boys, I don't know if they continued on or...
I don't know. I don't think
decided to...
No.
Yeah. It happens. Sometimes people are just like, oh, I can't.
Especially when you're that young, it's sort of, it's a hard career. And I think at that age, you also don't really know who you're going to be. And a lot of people decide they don't enjoy it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I have so many questions to ask you, but I think the first question is because we really did lose touch. Where did you go after that? I mean, because you lived in Los Angeles and I've also seen you in multiple things. And I actually think I saw you at like Seth MacFarlane Christmas party at one point as well.
Oh, yeah. Uh-huh. Because, he that at his house that he would have them. Yes. He'd have those giant parties at his house.
Giant parties.
He's such a funny person. Yeah. And he would sing sometimes.
Yes.
At parties.
He would sing. Yeah. And like there were so many people at those parties that if you like in this situation, I'm flashing back to like seeing you across the room and like knowing there's no way I'm gonna get there. Because there's so many people.
Yeah, it's too far. By the time, if you had tried, you would have crossed a bunch of people, and then I probably would have been gone anyway.
Because you would have seen 20 other people on the way over that you're like, oh my God, it's so nice to see you, Zach Braff. Oh my God, it's so weird to see you. Like, you know what I mean?
I mean, I don't know Zach Braff, but gosh, okay, wait. I don't know where I went. I don't know. I was so young.
Yeah.
I think I was sort of on the struggle bus for a few years, where I would work, but it wasn't very consistent. So I had different jobs. I would do, I was like waitressing, delivering chicken. I even tried telemarketing, which was horrible, and I only lasted like a day. It was awful. And then, I finally sort of lit a fire under my own ass and started to really sort of like dive back in and take it more seriously, probably around 2021. So, but I was still waitressing. But I just sort of like got myself together a little bit more. And I was like, okay, I'm going to I'm going to not be flaky on this career building stuff.
When was this? Because you said 2021.
Yeah. So I would say like around the time that we did Locust Valley for MTV. So funny.
Right? The fact that MTV was making shows and crazy.
So I don't know what they're doing now. But it was I was still doing pilots. I would do pilot season. I just think like just personally in my development, I was just on the struggle bus. Like I didn't, it was through that age from like being a kid, turning into a teenager, becoming an adult and like sort of figuring out what that meant.
Yeah.
And and then I sort of got back into it and then I started working a little more consistently and then I feel like around 22, 23, I got to the place where I didn't have to have another supplemental job anymore.
Right.
I was working at least consistently enough to,
So what was it at 17? Like what was it that was going on in your mind that sort of like finally focused you and wanted to, like you said, take it more seriously? Because it's such an interesting shift at that age. So many people are trying to find themselves and figure out what they want to do and where their energy is best served. And what was it that finally sort of made you focus down a little bit more and say, I wanted to do this?
I was, I tended to focus too much energy on boyfriends.
Mm.
And I was just talking about this with my friend Zibby the other day. And, you get those questions of like, what would you tell your 20-year-old self now? And both of us are like, don't spend so much time thinking about boyfriends or worrying about that. Focus more on yourself. And so, but it's all the like working out of other stuff, childhood stuff, or like, abandonment or just wanting to be loved by somebody or like all of that kind of stuff that can happen to a lot of people. And, I don't even know that at the time I recognized that that's what was going on for me. But I think that sort of was derailing me from having a career at that time. But also like I was a kid. Yeah. I was a kid and I was just screwing around being a kid.
Yeah.
And then I was like, well, what am I going to do? I don't want to waitress the rest of my life. Like, that's not my career choice. And I do really love acting. Mm-hmm. I remember at a certain point, my management company let me go. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if it was one of those like cleaning house things where they let a bunch of people go or not. But it was really like traumatic for me.
I would imagine.
It was jarring, and I was like, took it really personally, because I had developed this lovely relationship with one of the managers I would go in and he would help coach me for auditions, and and so I think that was sort of that really hurt and gave me the push that I needed to be more serious about the work. Yeah.
What? Because I've had similar moments, not in I guess situation, but in the industry of when feeling like you are really good friends with someone that you've worked with, that is in control. I had a thing with a producer and a writer where I worked with them. I was meant to work with them again. Contract done, ready to go, fired like a week before, and someone that the financiers thought was going to be better for the movie was brought in. It destroyed me. I remember I was on the floor like screaming and crying, like just like could not get off the floor because I couldn't. And it wasn't so much the pain of like, oh, you're fired. It was that I felt terribly, terribly backstabbed and like just thrown away by someone that I thought cared about me. It was a really hard, it was the first time in the industry where I was like, oh God, it's a business. It truly is a business. And it changed me, and it changed my ability to trust people a lot in the business.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've experienced that multiple times. I mean, I've been replaced on pilots several times.
Are you serious?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I've always
was replaced.
wondered how that goes and how that would affect somebody.
Well, it sucks.
Yeah.
I was replaced on a sitcom because I just wasn't, I don't know. I wasn't exactly what they were looking for. You know, we were doing rehearsals, and as we were doing rehearsals, I think I didn't really enjoy it. I didn't really enjoy the part once I had got the part.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that was evident, and I was young, and they decided to recast me with a person that was actually perfect for the part, who should have got it in the first place.
Yeah.
Realistically. And then, that show got picked up and went on to do a few episodes and then got canceled. It's just like there's several of those instances. And I mean, it's devastating every time. Talk about rejection. I mean, the industry is very, it's a constant rejection because you're going in on so many auditions. And I know that there's some like statistic even for working actors, like how many auditions you go on to every 100 no's, there's like one yes or not even that. But so this is something that I think actors talk about all the time, is that you have to have such a thick skin to be able to make it, so to speak, but you also have to wear your heart on your sleeve when you're working. So it's like these two opposing sides that you have to be very, very good at in order to survive. You have to be, thick-skinned towards the industry, but then once you're actually working, be able to like completely show all of your vulnerability.
Yeah. It's so funny because I've had that exact conversation with so many people, and I question a lot of the times for myself anyway, if it is truly that I have thick skin or if I'm just really good at pretending like things don't bother me.
I mean, I don't think that having thick skin necessarily means that things don't bother you. I think it's sort of more like it can bother you, it can be devastating, but you're able to pick yourself up and say, going. I'm going to still move forward.
This episode is brought to you by HelloFresh. Are you tired of figuring out what's for dinner night after night? I know that I am, especially on those busy weekdays. Well, it's easy to find time with HelloFresh. They have 50 wholesome, hassle-free meals to choose from each week, delivered right to your door. You guys, you know how much I love to cook, but sometimes I get so overwhelmed with what to make. And the beauty of it is that HelloFresh comes in individually wrapped paper bags with a recipe card and all the ingredients that you need. Last night, we had turkey burgers. It was absolutely amazing. They were these wonderful pineapple turkey burgers, and Ginny literally helped us make the entire thing. They had these wonderful soft brioche buns. It was awesome. She and I had so much fun making these burgers. So get up to 10 free meals and a free high-protein item for life at HelloFresh.com/Katee10FM. One item per box with active subscription. Free meals applied as discount on first box. New subscribers only, varies by plan. That's up to 10 free HelloFresh meals. Just go to HelloFresh.com/Katee10FM. That's KATEE10FM. America's #1 meal kit, HelloFresh. I talk about this a lot with people, how you build resiliency with children as a parent. What is it that creates a thick skin, that allows you the ability to keep going where other people potentially decide for right reasons, not for me. You know what I mean? And I think it's the ability to be able to pivot to to sort of just like, you know, people that are malleable and allow themselves to go with the flow and to not take things too personally, like in the moment. Like I'm still trying to figure out what it is, because I'd love to be able to bottle it and teach it to my children. You know what I mean?
Yeah. First of all, I think you can be born with the innate sense that you will not be knocked down. You will fight. Like it's a fight or flight response in many ways, I think. And, you know, some people are flight people and some people are fight people. And you can kind of tell them apart if you know them.
Yeah.
So I think that there's something that you're born with, and then I think it's something that you work through and work on throughout your life. There's, to be honest, I've definitely thought about quitting acting many times. There was many, many times where I was just like, ugh, I can't do this. This is too much. It's too much. They're asking too much of me. Like this entire industry is just asking too much. And then every single time I've almost quit, I end up booking something that just like keeps me back in it. And so,
yeah,
you know, there was a moment in time where I was like, I'm just going to become a photographer, like full time. Forget it.
I love that you have found something though, that like you were like, I'm going to do that. Because every time I have wanted to quit, I can't find anything else.
There's nothing. I mean, that says something too. It's just like, this is what I'm supposed to do. Okay.
Yeah, there's nothing else. There's nothing else. So what was it that you sort of, that thing that you booked that gave you like a real stride? Because you haven't stopped working for, you know, 15 years now, it seems. 15, I mean, for a long time, 15, 20, I mean, a long time, 15, 20 years. You work very, very, very consistently. And so, but what do you think it was that where you finally, if you've finally gotten there to that point where like, you don't need to fall back on photography unless you want to?
I would say it's sort of always been there. That lingering, like, maybe I won't do this forever. And I think now when I think about that, it's not, well, it's the fear of like, what happens after my show's done, right?
Yeah.
Like, what does that look like? Because I have barely had auditions for the last 6 years that I've been doing this show. The only reason why I ended up on something else was This Is Us, and that was just because I had already been on the show. You know, like there was nobody else was calling. And so I just wonder what it looks like afterwards. Am I going to become like Dawson from Dawson's Creek, where just like, you know what I mean? Where you have to somehow like completely change everybody's idea of who you are. And then I think, well, what if I just decide not to, and I decide to just like garden and, you know, do photography and make pottery or something? Like,
we can literally open a pottery studio together, because like minus the photography, that's pretty much what my plan is when the phone stops ringing fully, is to garden, chickens, pottery. That's it. That's what I'm going to do. And raise babies.
You live in Portland. Yeah.
I do. And you live in Georgia?
Yeah.
How long have you lived there?
I moved here in 2015.
Okay. What brought you to Georgia?
So 9 years. Well, I was doing The Walking Dead out here.
Yeah. And
I had been thinking, because I really was kind of miserable in Los Angeles, just, I don't know. I never really, well, I always had this sense that I never really fit in anywhere until I was like in my mid to late 30s. And then I was just like, I don't need to fit in anywhere because I fit in with myself. So it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
And what a wonderful epiphany that was. But yeah, I just didn't, I was like, you know what, if I don't need to stay here just because I am an actress. Like I can go other places. And if it's meant to be and I'm meant to stay working, I will.
Yeah.
And I was about to get married to my husband, and I was looking at houses here, and I was like, if we would go back to Los Angeles, we're going to live in an apartment.
Yeah.
We're going to go back as a married couple and live in an apartment, and it's going to cost crazy amounts of money.
Mm-hmm.
Or we could buy a house here, a 5-bedroom house, for what you would pay for a tear down in Los Angeles. Yeah. And we get to live in the woods. And I was like, I would rather live in the woods. So that's why we moved out here. And now I do have chickens. I am building a garden. Like, it's lovely. And then I go to Vancouver for like 3-4 months. So I get to be in a city, and then I, come back home and live in the country. It's great.
It amazes me that you wanted to live in the country after The Walking Dead. Like, is there no part of that scared the shit out of you? Because I have a friend who lives in the country of Georgia, and like, if shit went down, no one would hear her scream. So.
No, I mean, I have neighbors over there and over there. Like, they're a little far, but
Yeah.
It's quiet. We have a gate. Like, you can't just roll up and drive down our street without a gate code.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
I mean, it's fine. It's a beautiful community, and it's I have such a better quality of life out here than I did in LA.
Yeah.
Where, there's traffic, and then you've got like helicopters that wake you up at 2 a.m. with their searchlights looking for someone, and you're like, oh my God, is the person in my backyard? Am I going to be shot? Like,
it's been a few moments. Yeah.
Because they're literally shining their light in your window, and you're like, I mean, what made you move to Portland?
So many of the same reasons. We looked around. We lived in Venice, and I always loved Venice as a single person. Always loved it. I lived there for many, many years. I looked around after we had our daughter, and I realized that it didn't serve me anymore. That I was, I had never felt any unease on my own in that area that I lived in. But as soon as I became responsible for someone else, I realized I needed to move. And it wasn't even about like any one thing. It was just about, there were too many people. It was too many cars, too much noise.
Yeah.
Too much. It was just too much.
Yeah.
And I hated the fact that everyone seemed every day to be consumed with the industry, when my life just became about so much more. And I didn't want to talk about work anymore. And so I just didn't want to talk about it.
Me neither.
You know what I mean? Like,
me neither.
Because at the end of the day, it didn't matter. Like, it didn't matter. Yeah. It wasn't, and so we started looking at places to live, and then we realized that, if we were going to move anywhere, we needed to move closer to family for the time being. And so that brought us up to the Pacific Northwest. Yeah. And we love it.
It sounds lovely. Yeah.
Yeah. It's really lovely. It's really lovely.
How old is your daughter?
My daughter is 3 and my son is 4 months.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. How old are your kids? You have 2 as well?
Yeah. 6.5 and 8. They're 15 months apart.
Wow. You went for it.
Oh, no, it was an accident. Yeah, my son was only like, I don't know, 6.5, 6 months old. And one day my friends and I were pickling. We were making pickles, and my friend was making kimchi, and I swear that fish sauce, I was like, ugh. I was like, it's going to make me sick. And then I woke up in the middle of the night and I was sick, and I was nauseous for a few days, and my girlfriends were just like, you're pregnant. I was like, no, I'm not. They're like, yeah, you are. And I took a test, and I was like, I said all sorts of,
I'm sure,
nasty words, because I wasn't ready for it. And I was supposed to go back to do the second season of This Is Us. And I was going to be showing heavily. And I ended up having the baby while that show was filming, but I was no longer in the show by the end of it anyway. It's such a long story.
Was that always the plan to not be in any more seasons of This Is Us?
No, they changed the trajectory in the beginning. Like originally, I remember talking to Danny and he's like, yeah, so I think we're going to go, I think Sophie's going to end up having like an addiction, like a sort of like a Nurse Jackie pill addiction or something.
Okay.
And I was like, cool, great. And then they decided to have Justin's character be the one with the addiction, which makes perfect sense for his upbringing and, all of it. But then of course that means that once he goes downhill and after all of the things that had happened between the characters before, she couldn't stay with him. It had to be done. So, but then by the time they came back and wanted me to come back on the show as a regular, they sent out an offer and I was doing Virgin River. And Netflix was like, they were like, nope, can't do that. And I was like, but what? We've only filmed for like 3 months. Nope.
Yeah.
I was like, damn it.
That's a tough one. It's a tough one when you get into, for lack of a better term, like a pissing contest between two studios. Because it's not necessarily, they're within their right. So you can't fault them. But at the same time, it is frustrating. I remember when Mandalorian came up and I needed to sign a regular contract and I was still under contract with Netflix. But they knew damn well they weren't picking the show up. So I was like, come on, guys. And they were like, well, we want the option. I was like, but you're not picking it up. You're not going to. Like, what is this? And they ultimately ended up playing nice. And Disney took me in second position. Netflix agreed to let me do it. Netflix subsequently canceled the show like everybody knew they were going to do, like within a month. And it was no problem. But to get them to do that was so much negotiation. And I was terrified because I knew the show was over, So had the show not been over, I would have been fine. I would have been like, great, I still have a job. But to then hold me to that and not let me go off and do something else when they knew they were going to cancel the show was really hard for me.
It hurts. It's painful. It hurts just like the rejection hurts, but in a different way.
Yeah. Because you feel like you're being held back.
Yes. Yeah. And it's frustrating that somebody else gets to dictate what you do. And that feels like you don't have control over yourself, which is weird. Like you don't have autonomy anymore. And you're just like, but that's not correct.
Yes. Yeah.
How could you possibly have control over what I do in my life? Yeah, it's very unsettling, that feeling.
It is.
But I will say it's a high class problem, as we say.
As we like to say in the industry.
It's a good problem to have rather than people not wanting you.
Do you enjoy being the lead of a show?
I do. I mean, I don't not like it. I think, I enjoy it because I would say that, I get to stretch and, live in that person's world more than somebody that is, like number 6 or 7 who is working like 4 or 5 days out of the 14 because we shoot in blocks. So it's, sort of sparse. And I would say that is almost harder, even though I'm exhausted and sometimes don't get enough sleep and, and, so what do you think? What's your take on being the lead?
So here's the interesting thing. So my show, Another Life, was filmed right before the first season of Virgin River because we had the same hair and makeup department and they were going straight to your show. And Rosa was constantly saying to me, you and Alex, I feel like you guys would be really great friends. You should call her up. You should call her up if you're both filming at the same time. It was so funny. She was so sweet about it. And I was the lead of that, in that I worked every day and had no time off and was exhausted and was carrying that show, I felt, and a lot of the professionalism on set. Like I was really trying to, we had a lot of younger cast members that I was really felt like I was trying to lead by example and like, you know, teach them sort of the ropes at the same time. And I don't know if I could do it again. I don't know if I could do it again.
I mean, I was hoping for more. This last season really kicked me in the butt. The first season of Virgin River kicked me in the butt.
In what way?
This last season, my hours.
Yeah.
I was working so much. Just so much. And I even got to the point where, because we film on location constantly around Vancouver, which is lovely. I mean, it's gorgeous where we film. But often it's cold and rainy, and we're in summer clothes. And then, you know, they build those tents, you know, those black tents as like a sort of like a place to relax.
They put a heater in it.
They put a heater in it and it leaks and it's dark, and, you know, it's just, I spent so much time in those tents and I would wrap out from set because the base camp would be 20 minutes. So like I never got to go for lunch. I never got to relax. I would be in the tents all day for 15 hours. And then I just got I got exhausted from that. And so I bought myself a little Airstream base camp. Have you seen those? They're like 20 feet. And I got them to bring it to set. So it sits at set so I can actually go and get warm. You know,
smart.
Use the bathroom, wash my hands.
Instead of hand
with
sandy.
soap. Yes. And I can't tell you, like, that really saved me this last year, because I may or may not have had a nervous breakdown if I didn't have that thing. Because it was cold. It was freezing, and I was like, oof, that was hard.
Vancouver is a tough place to film. I got hypothermia one year shooting Battlestar, and it was the coldest I have ever been for the longest stretch at one point. And I was so cold that, I mean, I remember them pulling me into the tent, and the guy was like, he's like, we need to warm you up. And the medic, and I said, no, I'm good. I'm not shivering anymore. I'm actually good. And he went, I know, you stopped shivering about 5 minutes ago. It's a really big problem. They pulled me in and they had to warm me up very slowly. And I ended up getting like pneumonia. It was really bad. And because I was so wet and so windy. And like couldn't go back any place dry. And so I was not able to warm my core up. Because the scene was also super long. So then I was standing in the wind chill, like for, 20 minutes, 15 minutes per, setup. And like, it was.
And your lips start to do this, so you can't talk.
You can't talk. You can't feel your hands. I was also probably 25 years old and didn't stand up for myself and didn't say anything. And, didn't put the warming stuff underneath because I was concerned I would look overweight. Like, you know what I mean? Like all of these things that I would give two shits about now. Were really, on my mind. But Vancouver's no joke when it's cold. It's no joke.
Yeah. We went back we were shooting in February, but the first season we started the first season of Virgin River in December.
Because you guys started right when we were done. Because we wrapped December
through March.
4th, I think.
So cold.
So cold. What, how did that character come to you? And did you read the books ahead of time? And did you have any idea? I mean, I know we never do, but did you have an idea based on the fan base of Virgin River that the show would be successful?
So I had never heard of the books. I'm not a big reader.
Me either. It's okay.
And that just comes, I
don't think less
the books
of you.
behind you.
There's all my husband.
No. Okay. That's fair. Yeah. No,
mine is the Buddhism for Dummies. That's mine. But it's on this side.
Cute.
And I think there's a book about chickens and things like that in there too. But anyway.
Nice. A little how-to chicken.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, I didn't know anything about it. I hadn't heard about it. And I received the interest. They wanted to have a meeting with me. I had just had my daughter, and my son had been very, very sick. And I was we were renting a house in LA, and we had our house in Georgia. And I was like going almost completely broke. And we were about to wrap up the house in LA to move back to Georgia because we couldn't afford it. And I was just like, I was desperate for work.
Yeah.
You know, I was supporting the family because my husband had, he was touring with Katy Perry, and he had quit that job because it would have taken him away from home for like the first year of our daughter's life. And it was just like, no. So I needed a job. They sent me the first few scripts and said they want to have a meeting with you, but they're also planning to offer it to you. Like, here's the offer. And I think I can't remember if they wanted me to read or not. And I said, no, I'm not reading because I don't know, the cojones I had at the time. I was just like, I'm not going to read. No. And then, well, they're like, well, we just have a meeting. I was like, no, I won't do any of that. I know.
What was it that made you say no?
I don't know. Because I was looking for something more edgy. I like to do things that are a little bit more complex and edgy, you know, philosophically interesting. And I just wasn't looking for this kind of work at the time. But of course, at the same time, I needed a job. And I read the scripts and I was like, this is really sweet. I can definitely play this part. And so anyway, so I got them to just like make an offer by being unattainable, which is a dirty game to play. Not that I was trying to play a game, but I was just like,
it's a game of chicken.
I was like, this is what it is. So yeah, so they offered me the part, and I told a girlfriend about it, and she was like, oh, this is going to be huge. And I was like, really, you think? She's like, yeah. It's a best-selling book. Like, it sold over some odd million copies of the book, or I can't remember what it was off the top of my head, but she's like, this is going to be a huge hit. I was like, okay, whatever. I was like, whatever. It's going to be a one and done. I'm going to go out there, do one season, 10 episodes, and, you know, it'll end up in the Netflix graveyard, as many, many shows do.
As my show did. Yes, there you go.
There was just there was so much of that on Netflix at the time that you would just like scroll through and see all these shows that they had done. And I was like, what even is this?
Well, and not only that, Alex, they had these insane holds, 16 months hold, where like, you know, our show, you know, our ratings weren't great in the beginning, but at the same time, they wanted to pick it up because it did well enough. But it was so far after the first season that no one even remembered that it was on, and they do no publicity. So it just like, it's slid into death, you know? I mean, so the fact that you guys have been picked up as quickly as you have, and have shot as quickly as you have, and done, what, 5-6 seasons in 4 years?
So what happened was the first season was shot from December to March, and they decided to pick it up for a second season before it had dropped.
Wow.
So they hadn't aired it, but they loved it. The internal network had loved it so much that they were like, this is going to do well. Yeah. So we started filming again in like September or something. And by the time it dropped in December, we were like almost done filming the second season.
Right.
Which is when I got the offer for This Is Us. And then it dropped, and it did pretty good. But then the pandemic hit, because we had gotten 2 seasons in the first before COVID. And then during COVID, I think word of mouth created a lot of viewers for the show.
Yeah.
Because it's a cozy show to watch. Like, it's comforting. They call it the comfort watch or whatever. I don't know. They have a term for it.
Yeah.
So that built, a lot of momentum. And now I think we have like 35 to 40 million viewers or whatnot, which is pretty great. I mean, I think last year we were number 4. We were the 4th most watched streaming show.
Yeah. No, it's an understatement to say that. I mean, that's phenomenal.
I was like,
yeah.
How did that happen? And I wouldn't know it other than once I go out into the wild and I get people look at me and stop me everywhere I go.
Yeah.
Then I'm like, oh, right. How weird. Because I just live my life and I'm just here. I'm just an actress.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
it's
shocking to
me. Did they give you any indication of how many seasons you could actually go? Like, is there an end in sight for the show?
They always say now that they want the show to go for a long time. That's what the Netflix executives are always saying to us.
Mm-hmm.
I always, like every single season, I've been like, well, this is our last season, guys. It's been great. But yeah, I mean, they have me under contract currently for 8 seasons. Season 6 is coming out December 19th.
Right.
And I think at this point, if they cancel it, if they end it, they'll wrap it up as like, this is the final season of. And so we'll probably know when it's the final season.
When you're filming it.
Yeah, I think they'll say, okay, so we're going to wrap it up this season and that's going to be the last. We're done.
Yeah.
So they haven't said that yet.
Yeah. You say when you got the part that it wasn't what you were looking for. Do you look at it now differently and think it's everything that you sort of needed but didn't want?
Yeah, I always quote that Rolling Stone song. You can't always get what you want, but sometimes if you try, you get what you need.
Yeah.
Yeah, I absolutely. I mean, it's actually like the perfect show for me.
Yeah.
At this point in my life.
Mm-hmm.
I'd love to do something else just because I love to know that I still can do something else.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You sort of get into a character for a long time and you're like, gosh, can I play other people anymore? Like, can I experience something else? So I really hoped that this year I would have something, but there's just like not a lot.
There's nothing going on.
Filming, yeah. It's been every single person I talk to in the industry is just like, it's so sparse out there. So
it really is.
My expectations for 2024 have been wah.
Oh yeah, no.
Okay.
It's been a really weird year. It's been a really weird year for sure. For sure.
Yeah. The strike shifted a lot of things, I think.
It really did. It shifted it, and I think that a lot of production went to the UK and to Australia, and I think that that's hurt, and I think that studios are getting more selective with what they do, so that's happening as well. And I think it's just, it's just one of those things where what can you do to keep yourself productive and artistic and not waiting for the industry the pendulum to swing back because there's a lot of people that is driving crazy in Los Angeles. I think if you can find something, to sort of feed your soul and validate you in the meantime, then you're good,
Yeah.
I want to go back really quick to what you said, because it's something that I've identified with, and just for people at home, because I know that a lot of people don't understand when I have said I was done with this character. I did it for 7 years and then I really felt like I wanted to go off. It's sort of like an artist, like a painter. If you are, an artist that painting feeds your soul and you really love to paint whatever comes to your mind on the day, and you just sort of paint what brings you joy, but to make ends meet, you paint for a hotel chain. and you paint the same thing every day for 8 years, and you're painting and you love painting and it really does do something for you and you enjoy it. But God, you would really love to just take your easel down and paint some random kids jumping in a fountain one day, but you can't do it.
Yeah.
Because this pays the bills and it's a really good job. So you can't walk away from it. But man, are you dying to paint something else?
Yeah.
It's sort of like that. It's just like, yeah, you're painting, you know, yeah, you're acting and you love it. And you're not going to kick a gift horse in the mouth. But as an artist, to feed your soul, there is a desire to play other characters and to do other things.
I mean, you know, it depends on the season, I suppose, depends on what's happening with the character. But yeah, I got to a place where I was just like, I just don't want to cry anymore. Like, can Mel like not cry anymore? That would be nice. Do I have to keep can I stop having miscarriages? Because I'm just like, I'm tired of that. Like, I don't want to do it anymore.
Yeah, I love it. You're like, I'd love to pull some different oil canvas colors. I'd love to pull some different colors from the box for a second.
Can I be funny? Like, I could be funny. It's fine.
You're like, let me show you the kind of stuff I did before I played this character. I get eaten by zombies real well. Like, I can scream real good.
Yes.
Oh, good.
Yes.
So what does life look like in Georgia when you're not working?
You know, it's kids. I've been trying to chill recently and just readjusting. I find the adjusting from working back to home life and family life is difficult for me.
Yeah.
I don't know how it is for everybody. Some people are a little bit easier with transitions, but it's always hard. Yeah. It's like a bumpy landing when I get home. Because I'm working all day. I wake up 5 a.m., hair and makeup, work. Like, rarely do you have an opportunity to even go and get yourself food. So somebody else always bringing you food, to coming home and being the line cook and cleaning up after everybody. And so it's just like such different worlds.
Yeah. Did your family come with you to Vancouver?
Not this last time because they were in school.
Wow.
So that was really hard. So I've been trying to like come back and forth, but this time I was working so much that I didn't have long weekends to allow for that for the last 2 months.
Wow.
And it was awful, and we decided we're never doing that again. So we'll make it work next time in a different capacity so that that's not what happens. But but it is overwhelming for me. Like, if they're there or if they're not there, it's either they're there and I'm overwhelmed because I can't actually give them the attention that they need because I'm learning lines or I'm at work.
Yeah.
You know, or I'm just like exhausted from the end of the day that even doing like bath time, bedtime is like so hard when I just want to do my own bath time, bedtime.
Well, or if you're even home for it, a lot of times we're getting home at 11 p.m. at night and turning around and heading back at 5:30. You're not going to see your kids at all. So that's a tough thing to sort of, I understand that, like, of that guilt of, you know, I want to give more time, but I also know that I can't, and I don't have the time because it takes me a long time to memorize and I have to do that. And I've got to, it's a tough balancing act.
It is. And a lot of people ask, like, how do you do it? And I'm like, you don't, because something suffers. Like it either, you know, my family time suffers or I suffer or my work suffers. Because I spent time with my kids instead of learning my lines.
Yeah.
And then the next day it becomes that much harder. Although I will say that I've gotten very good at like going to work and learning lines on the day. Because the first season I was so exhausted from work that I didn't have the capacity to really learn the lines the night before.
Yeah.
So I would just like sort of look at it. And then if I had any big chunks, like try to focus on that. But the rest of it, I would just go in and be like, well,
the best is
learning it during rehearsal.
Yeah. Yeah.
But so, we also just decided that the kids have such a better quality of life here. Friends, family, my husband's family lives here.
Oh, great.
His parents live here. So it's just.
So he's also got help when you're not there.
Yeah. We have help. We have part-time help. And then, I have somebody that comes to help with cleaning the house and stuff like that it's just too much for him to do. And
yeah. Shit, I'm not even working right now and we've got help.
Oh yeah. Well, I'm not working right now and I have help still because I can't, because otherwise if I'm doing all of it, then if we don't divide and conquer, or if I just end up doing all of it because I'm the only one that seems to see all the piles of stuff, then I'll get resentful. So I was just like, let's just cut that out and not do that. And then like, or just me nagging you to tell you to do something all day because I don't want to do that either.
Yeah.
So I now have somebody that comes and does the laundry because I was just like,
Yeah.
Him and I are responsible for our own laundry, but then I have somebody to do the kids' laundry. Because between two kids that go to school, they have a lot of laundry. And it's dirty because they run around with their socks on in the Georgia clay, and it's very hard to get that out of socks. So yeah. And they're like two hurricanes, man. My kids are so active. They bounce around the walls. I mean.
Were you like that as a kid?
Yeah.
So it's your payback.
Yeah. But I lived in 1-bedroom apartments with my mother, not in a very nice house in the woods. So
yeah.
They're like, we're rich. I'm like, we're not rich. We just have enough money.
Yeah.
You don't have to worry about money.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
They're like, how much money do we have? How much did this house cost? I'm like, don't stop.
Yes. No. You have a roof, you have food, you have clothes, you have entertainment.
Exactly.
That's all that matters. Yeah. That's it.
Yes.
We're fine. It's I would imagine though, like, like you said, growing up in an apartment with your mom, while you were pursuing your dream as an actor, working as a waitress and delivering food and things like that, to then get to the point where you're at now, like, do you stop and pinch yourself and like appreciate how far you've come and what you've accomplished?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. What is it that Ina Garten has she has a saying. She says, what is it? Is it a book she wrote?
I don't know.
Be ready for the luck. She says, be ready for the luck, because she sort of said that, I'm not quoting, I'm misquoting, but she was something to the effect of, somebody said, well, are you proud of where you've gotten in your life? And she's like, well, I just feel like I was very lucky. But it's not that. It's a combination of that and also like pursuing something and, working very hard at something to get there. But I would say that within our industry, there is an amount of luck involved.
Yeah.
And timing. I started working when I was 15 years old, and I was definitely not ready, nor did I have the talent to be somebody like a Lindsay Lohan or whatever. Right. Like I didn't have that at that age. Like I was fine. I was an okay actress.
Yeah.
But I hadn't really like figured it out yet. So
yeah.
It's all about timing, and I'm grateful that I've been able to work consistently. But I have pounded the pavement of Los Angeles for years and years and years. The amount of auditions, the amount of pilots that I tested for, like I think I've done a total of 10 or 11 pilots.
Wow.
But that's not even what I tested for. Usually I would test for at least like 5 within a season.
Oh my God, really?
Yeah.
Oh I was lucky if I tested for 2. Wow.
I mean, 2 is still a lot. Like that's a lot.
Yeah.
The first pilot that I did that I was the lead of was called Mystery Girl. I think I was 21 or 22. And it was for UPN, I think. UPN. What was it called? I feel like
it sounds very UPN. It sounds very familiar to me. So what would that have been? 2004?
Well, if you weren't working at the time, you would have read for that for sure. Because it's this. I feel like we were. We've
always been very
type,
similar. Yeah. I think that was probably the year that I booked Battlestar. I think.
So that was actually, so they had that and they had Veronica Mars. And Mystery Girl was very much like Veronica Mars, but it was, I was older than Kristen Bell's character, even though I think in life we are the same age. I think she's like 42 or something. But they had both of those pilots and they picked up Veronica Mars. But to say at the time, I was still not ready for that.
Yeah.
I was still not ready to carry a show.
I don't think I was ready to carry a show until 4 years ago.
Yeah. It's hard. It's so hard. It's so hard.
So hard.
It is no joke.
It's no joke.
That is no joke.
It's no joke.
I mean, talk about like, I don't know if you've ever done a Hallmark or a Lifetime movie where they shoot them in 3 weeks. It's like that. That's what I do, you know?
Yeah.
Because we shoot so quickly.
Yeah.
It's just, there's no downtime. I've always wanted to do a sci-fi, and you're so lucky to be sort of like, have been ingratiated into that world. I watch all these sci-fi shows and I just like, I love it. I love the worlds. And I'm fascinated by it.
You did The Walking Dead. Why have you ever considered doing a sci-fi convention?
I mean, The Walking Dead's more a horror convention.
I mean, it is, but Norman,
I've never gotten
so many of the conventions. Like
that's interesting.
Because it's that world, and it's sort of like, you know, once you're sort of like seen in that world, and there's so many people on the convention circuit now that including writers and producers, and you know, that it's you know, you almost start to get seen in the world a little bit more, and put that out there into the world. You never know. Yeah.
I mean, I always just like hope somebody will send me an audition for something.
Whereas I am like, if I could just play a character that is in a small town, maybe we shoot in British Columbia, you know, I just cry a lot, not a lot of blood. That would be really great for me right now in my life. So we can switch.
Deliver babies. Yeah.
We can switch. The only blood is from other
babies?
people. I would love it. I would love it. I would love it at this point.
Great.
I'm manifesting that.
Yeah.
You're manifesting the other thing. Yeah. The grass is always greener.
I would like to give it a go. It's, you know what? No, it's not that it's greener. I think because I understand and I'm so grateful for what I have.
Yeah.
I'm so grateful for not only having a job at all, but also a really good job, and a job that allows me to have some like normalcy in my life where I can come home and be a mom and be there for my kids, because that is so important for them. And it's going to be something that will keep stability for them in their lives, you know?
Absolutely. Absolutely. My mom always said if she could go back in time and take the first 2 years off of my brother and my life, that it's the one mistake she feels like she made as a parent, but she didn't have the financial luxury to do that. And I did. So that's what I did, you know?
Yeah.
So I do this thing where I end with a question that I am not a good enough interviewer to have come up with myself. And I just pull it out of a box.
Cute.
So I'll just grab something, and it's usually...
Sure.
It's a rando. Okay. How do you think being an oldest, middle, youngest, and or only child has shaped you?
Well, I'm sort of, I don't want to call it a hybrid, but I'm mostly a single child.
Okay.
I'm an only child to my mother, but my father had 4 other children.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
Who I didn't grow up with in the same house.
Okay.
So I would say being the single child of a working mother, my mom had me at 19. And so, she was still, she went back to college. She was cleaning houses. She was nannying. I would be with her when she was nannying and cleaning houses. And, but also I was, she wasn't there when I got home from school. So I was very much a latchkey kid in every sense of that. And I spent a lot of time alone. So as an adult, I need some alone time to decompress.
Mm-hmm.
That's just part of my way of being. And, but I think that helped me with my resilience.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking about resilience and, where that comes from and how you could bottle up to give to your children. And I think that part of that resilience that I have came from out of necessity, survival necessity for myself when I was so little that I had to take care of myself a lot and, navigate the world without so much parenting.
Is your mother a part of your life these days?
No, she passed away in 2010.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, she was only 47 years old.
Wow.
Very young. I know. It's sad. It's so sad. I mean, it's, yeah. But I hadn't talked to her in 5 years before she passed away. She was not well. She was not, I'm sure she had undiagnosed mental illness.
Yeah.
And I was young and it became, I won't go into details, but it became too hard for me to handle. And I realized at a certain point, and I know a lot of people don't understand this because a lot of people, if you say, I had to cut off a family member, such as my mother or my father, people won't understand because they'll just say, well, they're your parent and you don't ever turn your back on family. And I will say to them, when those family members become dangerous to you, you have to take care of yourself.
Right.
And ultimately, I know that my mother loved me deeply. And I know that she would have wanted, had she been in her right mind, she would have wanted me to take care of myself.
Yeah.
So, it's just sad. And I mean, I've had to deal with it and work through it for many years, obviously. Not having a mother at my wedding or to be the grandmother to my children. And all of that's just like really sad. And I see people with beautiful relationships with their mothers as adults. And I just wish I had that. But I now get to have a beautiful relationship with my daughter who's 6. She'll be 7 in December. And we have the kind of connection that I always wanted with my mother. So,
yeah,
I get now to experience that in a different way. And so it's okay.
Yeah.
That got real deep real fast.
No, it did. It did. It's it's beautiful. And, we I don't know, you take the life gives you, people say a lot that life doesn't give you any more than you can handle. And I firmly, I agree, but I disagree. I think that you either rise to what life gives you or you let it beat you down. And you rose to what life gave you, and therefore you handled it because you didn't have a choice. And it's a testament to how strong you are. But your mom also helped shape how strong you are. Whether she did it on purpose or not.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
Thank you for taking the time. I really appreciate this. It's been wonderful to catch up again.
Absolutely.
And I hope it's not another 25 years.
I know. Well, you have my number, right? I'll give you my number.
I have your email. Okay. Don't do it right now. I'll cut it out if you do.
Let me just, Yeah. Here, everybody. Call me.
Call me, guys. It'll be great. Here's my address too. It was lovely to see you. And
you too.
I'll continue to watch
Thank
you get stuck in chicken coops online. So.
Oh my gosh. I hope that doesn't happen again. All right.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Hindsight. Thank you so much for being here. I I'm still Katee Sackhoff. Sorry, I have a little bit of a cold, so my voice is much lower than it usually is. But I am joined by my producer and co-host of The Hindsight, Jeff Porter.
That's a great jacket you're wearing, by the way.
Thank you. Columbia Outlet Columbia is such a huge institution in the Pacific Northwest that every single person wears it. Every single person's children is in it. Like, I mean, because we have access to outlets here and like the employee stores, so we can get stuff at like massive discounts.
Yeah.
So we are, I mean, like smothered in Columbia at all times. And Prana. So Prana is also part of Columbia as well. And Mountain Hard Gear, like we get a lot of good shit at really cheap because we live up here.
I mean, the Pacific Northwest look is almost a cliche, and it's in a way.
It is a little.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is a little bit. And it exists for a reason. When we moved back here and I was hanging up clothing, I realized that I should have left it all in Los Angeles because ain't nowhere to wear Louboutins here in Portland, Oregon.
Yeah. Not a lot of...
You can go to the nicest restaurant here and they're like, why did you take your bloodstones off?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
But I mean, LA is kind of like that in a way. Like LA has got both extremes. Like you can go to the fanciest restaurant in LA in t-shirt and jeans and tennis shoes, and it's fine.
You can, but your t-shirt, jeans, and tennis shoes cost more.
True.
Than the waiter's rent.
True. But I don't think anybody's going to blink their eyes if you're wearing t-shirt and jeans, but you could also go with somebody who's, dressed in a, out like they're going out for awards night or whatever, and it's fine. There
is something very interesting about sort of like the whole West Coast. It's just crazy sometimes the way that people sort of like, walk around in the things they wear. Like, I don't, like how many times, like my brother has a pair of pants that have been like fixed so many times by my mom that I am just like, at this point, like, is there any of the original jean left?
Yeah. It's the jeans of Theseus.
It is. And I sadly also have a pair that I just retired that's very similar to that, where finally the tailor was like, there's nothing left to sew together.
Yeah, I finally gave up on a pair of pants too that have been sitting in my closet and have been tailored multiple times. And I just, because we're getting ready to move actually, and I found there's a place here in LA called Sway that, because I have all these like clothes that are just like torn to shreds. And you can't donate them because it's like, who wants these? But I'm like, I just feel bad throwing them in the garbage. So I found this place called Sway LA, SUAY, and they will just take old clothes like that are not able to be donated, and they turn them into like jackets and pillows and things like that and everything, and you can go in there. They're great place.
How are you doing? I mean, just for the audience, for everyone who knows, we are 13 days into the fire. No, 7 days into the fire burning.
Yeah, I mean, this airs. So if you're listening to this now, it's at the end of January, and the fires in LA happened at the beginning of January. It was a day that started off sort of, wildfires in LA are not a uncommon thing. So they hear about them and you're like, okay, whatever. And then it turned into an actual disaster. So, I mean, I don't know where we are now when people are listening to this episode at this point. It's hopefully things have gotten better, but, I'm fine. Me and Allison are fine. Our house was far enough away from anything. We just dealt with a lot of smoke and ash and bad air and stuff and everything. But it was just, just devastating for the city. I mean, I know you were watching it and posting about it and everything, but it's just, whole neighborhoods leveled, places that I've been to, restaurants I've been to, things like that. It's just people I know and work with lost their homes. It's it's wild.
It's I saw this thing that said that, I've seen a couple really, really interesting sort of like memes in the last little bit. And one of the comments was that there is not one person in Los Angeles that doesn't know somebody who's lost their home.
Yeah. I mean,
it's everyone.
Yeah.
Everyone knows somebody who's lost their home, or at least is evacuated.
And there's a lot of, I think people not in LA, there's a lot of news coverage of like the celebrities that have lost their homes, because these are, the couple of neighborhoods were richer neighborhoods, but they're not exclusively rich neighborhoods either. There are plenty of people who are not rich and famous that are now without homes and everything. So
yeah, I think that's and that was one of the other things that I saw. And it was basically saying that like, it still blows my mind that people think that all of Los Angeles is a rich celebrity. It's not.
No,
most
it's the
of
second
Los
largest
Angeles
city
is working
in the
class.
country.
Most of Los Angeles is built on the hard work of blue collar people. Like so many people in Los Angeles. Like just because one person's, you see the Pacific Palisades and celebrities lost their homes. You want to know what else is in the Pacific Palisades? People who have lived there for 40 years.
Yeah.
Who have a home that they bought for a normal amount of money. Yeah. And it just so happens to be worth 10 times more now at this point. You know what I mean? Like people who don't have savings lost their homes. People who didn't have fire insurance lost their homes. Like people who, one of the oldest, I was reading one of the oldest Black communities in the United States, that entire community is gone.
Yeah.
Like, and I don't think people understand the magnitude of it. I think that's what really pisses me off, is that people don't understand how big and vast California is, Los Angeles is.
LA in general. Yeah. I mean, I think I saw some figure that the Palisades fire alone now has raged across an area the size of Manhattan.
Larger than. I think that a friend of mine posted, Simon Cassianetis posted a thing about, it was if you put the fire on top of Europe, it would be so many countries just gone. Just gone. You know what I mean? Like people don't understand how large of an area.
And I mean, LA is the most spread out city. I mean, not the most, but probably at least in America, it's the most spread out city. So there's still a vast part of the city that is not touched by the actual flames. But just the air quality and the all that stuff has been pretty atrocious. And like because we're moving, we have a whole pile of donation stuff that we were going to give away anyway. So we took that over to one of the donation drop-off spots the other day. And it is just like in these moments, it is really just like heartwarming to just see crowds of people there to donate stuff, people volunteering. I mean, Allison went to go volunteer yesterday and she got turned away because there were too many people volunteering, which is fantastic.
It was like that in New York after 9/11.
Yeah.
And I went to go donate blood and they didn't need my blood type because they had so much. Yeah. I remember that being in New York, and remember just the whole city was invigorated and like came together, and it was beautiful to see. And it's, it's so weird. I have this like weird, I don't know. It's just, it's hard to quantify sort of how it feels because I'm not there anymore.
Yeah.
But LA was my home for 25 years. Like one of the homes I shared with my ex got burnt down. Another one of the houses I think is gone that I owned. Like life memories. Now, granted, I don't live there anymore, but my heart is there. My friends are there. I have friends who have lost homes, who have lost everything they had, who lost their pets.
Yeah.
Like I just, and so it drives me nuts when I see things like, how could you ever leave your pets behind? You don't understand how fast this moved and what people were dealing with. You don't understand
how fast it moves, and also how hard it is to comprehend how serious it might be. Yeah. Like I think some people get an evacuation order and they're like, oh, I just got to go drive down to the beach for a little bit and I'll be back at my house, Yeah. And then your house is gone. And, it's and there is some friends that know that lived in the area that thought that their house was gone have been able to go back and found that it's not completely gone. So not everything is gone, but that,
But it's still uninhabitable.
Oh, yeah. I mean, they've got to level the house and rebuild it, and everything. So,
yeah.
Yeah. So it's something we're getting through. And I don't know where, again, this is going to air a little bit after this. Right. So I don't know where we're going to be by the time this airs. As we're recording this, they're issuing new evacuation orders for different areas of Ventura County, which is north of LA and stuff. So we're not out of the woods yet, basically.
No, it's crazy to me. You look down and you see 13% contained, and it's just shocking. And then you see these criticisms from government officials of, what the firefighters are doing. There are so many people giving their time and their lives. And it drives me so nuts that there's so much disinformation and misinformation.
Speaking of spread out, it's like those mountains over in like Topanga and Malibu and stuff. I mean, there are vast areas where it's just wilderness. And we had, about 2 years ago, we had these massive rainstorms that flooded everything. It refilled our reservoirs, which was great at the time. But what that did was it just allowed all this vegetation to grow back. And now we're back in a drought and all that stuff is dried. And now it's just burning away. And it's I think the thing, and I think we should move on from this because we're talking about Alexandra. But the thing that if I had to really pin something to the asshole award is, did you hear about how we got some of those super scoopers? Have you heard of these? They're the big airplanes that get the ocean water. Did you hear about the drone? Did you read about the drone? The person, you're not supposed to be flying drones over this area, but a drone hit one of the super scoopers and they had to down it for a handful. I don't even think it's back up yet. I think it's still down.
And you want to know what makes me even more angry? The comments underneath it. Well, how do you know it wasn't just a homeowner who was trying to get a look at their house? Oh, fuck off.
No, that doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
Guess what? Your house is going to be gone because you just...
I want to know who it was. I hope they find them.
Oh my God. That person is going to get... They better be on their way to Mexico right now.
Right?
Getting out of town.
Yeah. I don't know. Anyway. We'll probably we might cut all this out. I don't even know. But it's, it's because I know we're here to talk about Alex. But.
Well, so speaking of, you met Alex back when you were a youngin'.
I was 18. She was 17. Aaron Paul, I think, was 19. Uh-huh. We were babies, literal babies. Pretending to be grown-ups.
It was one of your first projects, right?
It was the first pilot that I booked the lead of. I was the lead of the show. And like we talk about in the episode, I replaced someone else. So I wasn't hired originally. And then about a week later, they were recasting and they called and I got it.
When's the last time you saw any of it?
Locust Valley?
Yeah.
It was pretty good, man. It was I don't know. I've seen a couple clips of it just because some guy always posts it on Twitter. So every once in a while I see some weird clips from it. Yeah. Here we go.
We probably can't play the audio in the video version of this, but... Is that you? Yeah, we definitely can't play the audio on this because of the song, but the song will get us demonetized. But
oh, that's true. That's true. I was a child. Look at how young I was.
Is that your voiceover?
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah. That is, did you find the entire pilot?
This is part 1 of 4 on YouTube. I haven't watched it all. But
listen,
it's up there.
I have to make a quick
if you ever want to revisit.
It is. Okay. I know. It's God, you guys, this was like my first big acting job where I was the lead of a show and in every scene.
Yeah. Definitely a great opportunity.
And what was that like when you found out it wasn't going to be going to series?
I don't remember. I I think disappointment, but I also think that like,
Yeah.
You're a kid. I was a kid, like I don't think I understood anything that was going on around me. I knew that it didn't get picked up, but I think I also booked another job like 6 months later where I was like the lead of a show and then I was gone. I worked really quickly.
Was this before or after Undressed?
Before. So Undressed was after because MTV did Undressed. Locust Valley was for MTV. So after this, I dyed my hair brown. And I did like 4 episodes of Undressed. And then booked another show. No, or did I don't remember. It's all like that first like few years, there was a lot of like little stuff until I booked like that show with Richard Dreyfuss in New York. So, and then Battlestar right after that. So the first like, I think 1998 to 2002, I worked a lot on a lot of different stuff really quickly. Did you find another picture of me looking crazy?
No, I haven't watched through the whole pilot yet. And I'm going to be honest with you, Katee, I probably won't.
It's okay, Jeff. I won't hold it against you. I think I watched it so many times, especially when they finally, like they put the first like teaser trailer out. Like, I don't remember what it was for. I must have watched it like 50 times. I was so excited. I was so proud of myself because like I'd booked something. I was like, oh, and I'm not half bad. Like, I think I was in shock. But Alex was, I remember Alex was like, she and I like didn't really hit it off. I mean, we hung out and absolutely because it was a bunch of young kids. But like I said, like we didn't get close. Like I was much closer with Melissa Marsala, and I think it's just that she was very, when you're young and you're like standoffish because like you don't quite know how to read people and you're sort of protecting yourself, and our characters played characters that didn't like each other. So I think we just sort of like didn't really spend a lot of time together. We didn't have a ton of scenes together.
And if you guys, though, like before this recording, you hadn't really talked to her since, right?
I literally had not talked to her since. I saw her at a party, at Seth MacFarlane's party, like from across the way. Yeah. And Alex has looked the same since she was 17 years old. Just like, sort of like me. Like I've looked the same. I'm just older now.
Right.
And so I knew it was her. And I was like, do I dare try to like get all the way over there? And, I never would have made it.
Well, now you guys have reconnected. When you're in Georgia visiting Trisha, you'll have to hit her up.
I should. And, I'm sure they live close to each other.
Have you seen this video? Speaking of Georgia, have you seen the video of her getting trapped in the chicken coop?
Chicken coop? It's hysterical.
Yeah. I love it. It's
tomato trees, and then this thing closed behind me. And I was yelling for you. And you know what? I even yelled at a man who was going by on his golf cart, and he didn't stop. He didn't even look at me, and I was yelling at him. What is wrong with people? Come on. A jerk. Thank you.
Oh, man.
She's just funny.
Yeah.
It's just funny. You know what I mean? Like,
she's a good follow.
Although I did just see, Jeff, this wonderful Sun Valley, Idaho post. Yes. And I thought to myself, getting property in Portland is quite hard. You gotta move out quite a bit. And I was like, Idaho could be good.
I mean, you were joining a long tradition of celebrities that think that. I mean, there's a podcast called Welcome to Haleywood, which is very good. And it's all about how Bruce Willis tried to buy a town in Idaho and turn it into basically his personal little town. And it's Haleyville or Haley something, or I think it's just Haley, Idaho. And it's in the Sun Valley. And I believe him and Demi Moore, they have property out in that way. But it's an interesting saga of him buying up most of downtown, trying to start clubs and venues there in this little town that cannot support that kind of stuff. Because like the town has like 20 people living in it, and
yeah. You know what's funny is Robin and I, we talked about the potential of moving out and getting more property at one point. Mm-hmm. And he said, you're not close enough to doctors now. Like, we can't move further. Like, I have not been able to find doctors that I like in Oregon yet. And I've given it the college try, y'all. Like, I have tried. I am now just flying back to Los Angeles. I've resolved myself to the fact that I'm going to fly back to Los Angeles for doctors.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think on that note, we should just get into the mail sack.
Mail sack. We're going to the mail sack. Mail sack. Why are we calling it mail sack?
So, guys, Jeff, what was our question? No, this is just the idea for days.
Yeah, this was just the idea for days.
Right.
So this was from the Emily Swallow episode. Emily does her This Is the Way Wednesday days, which turned into her beautiful foundation. And in that episode, you had mentioned having your own day of some kind. And we were brainstorming ideas and we asked people to give us some of their thoughts. And so here are a few of them.
There we go. Alex says, thought I had while listening is see you next Tuesdays. It could be a recognition thing like Emily's, like I see you, or it could be more relaxed like a show or a movie you saw. I like it. Yeah. See you next Tuesdays could be funny.
For those who know, they know, but
yeah, it's hard to like brand merchandise that.
Yeah.
Grin says, you guys we're having our gutters cleaned.
Oh, no.
So the dogs are right. Grin says, no frackin' way Fridays, where you find a video clip or image of something that blows your mind or of something that there is no frackin' way you would do it or try it. That reminds me, someone online said that Fracked Up Fridays was a good idea.
Yeah, we talked about that on the Emily episode.
We did, like Fracked Up Fridays.
Which was just an excuse for you to get drunk on Fridays.
Right. But like, I think fracked up more like no frackin' way Fridays, sort of like what Rin is saying. That's like what fracked up Fridays is. Like, that's super fracked up or.
Fracked Up Fridays should be you get drunk and post whatever you want. And then you have I'm Sorry Saturdays and you decide if you're going to take it off or not. Take it off the internet.
It's true. And that's the hindsight. I can't. The Surgeon General like no longer allows us to drink, man.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Everything fucking kills you. Everything good. Arya says, what about Randalorian as a name for your Friday episode that highlights something random that y'all like? Randalorian. I like it. I like it, Arya. Brady says, Stronger Together Sunday. I like that too. Someone else already claimed Sunday, though.
That's true.
Football.
Just kidding. Yeah, but who watches football?
Who watches football? I like them all. Nothing's really hit yet, like. Yeah. This Is the Way Wednesday is just so perfect that I feel like we may need to leave it alone.
We have one more from Jake, a longtime fan of yours, who actually sent us in an audio message. And I wanted to highlight this one because that's something you can do with the email. You can just email us an audio message, record something on your phone, and email it. Where do they email it, Katee?
The Sackhoff@gmail.com, you guys.
Yeah.
That's such a great idea. So until we get a phone number, just do this.
Yeah, you can do this. So here's Jake with his suggestion.
Hey, Katee and Jeff. So with this here Mail Sack 2.0 / phone sack, you get tone, inflection, and humor from people, which might be fun. Or maybe it's super risky. I really don't know. Communication is hard. Anyway, so if I heard you right, you asked your fans about what to call a Friday that could help the show highlight people and or raise money. I thought I'd contribute my idea, which is Found Leg Friday. I'm thinking Mandalorians are stronger together, and Foundling Friday would totally give you an opportunity to welcome in new folks you want to highlight, or folks who did cool stuff you want to highlight in true Mando fashion. One could say that's what's up. Stay classy, y'all. See you next Tuesday.
Foundling Friday. What do you think of that?
Jake. First of all, Jake, I love that you figured out this new way to communicate with us. That's cool.
Yeah.
I like it. You also sound like a really cool dude. You're super funny. But Foundling Friday is kind of cool.
Yeah. I think it could be cool to like a way to highlight people doing cool things, and welcoming them into the, what do they call them? Do they call them a tribe? What do they call them in DeLorean? Uh-oh.
Clan.
There we go. Welcome them into the clan.
I literally was like, what do we call them? Yeah, it's clan.
Yeah, clan. Of course it is, because it's Clan Kreese. Okay.
Yeah. Duh.
Yes.
Yeah, that would be cool. I mean, we would have to sort of move away from, because foundlings are kids, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we would have to just like sort of adopt the foundling thing. But Foundling Fridays could be interesting.
And we'll keep brainstorming ideas. I think those are all good options. But I would also say, I think your social media presence kind of already encompasses all of these things.
I try to just live the Mandalorian way.
There you go. The Mandalorian way is cleaning dog piss off of a rug in your bathing suit.
It's Fractive Fridays.
There you go.
You know what I mean? It's Fractive Fridays. Can we just end now?
Yeah, let's just end it right now before we. Well, you know what I don't have this week, which I forgot to come up with, but maybe you can come up with something. Our episode question.
Oh.
What's a question you have? The question that you asked Alexandra was, how does being. It was essentially like your birth order, first, only child, first, middle, or youngest. How does that affect your personality now? Or do you want to pull a random card?
I'm going to pull a random card.
All right.
I'm doing it right now. Okay. This is a question for our audience. What's something you were warned about as a kid that turned out to be really overblown?
Whoa. Do you have an answer?
Swimming, within 30 minutes of eating.
My friend's mom is a nurse, and we were at it was when I was older, like in my 20s, we went swimming somewhere, like at a lake, and we were eating lunch, and she turns to me and she goes, "Is that even true?" And I was like, "You're the nurse who would tell me these things when we were children, and now you're asking me if it's true."
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
you'll get a stitch.
Yeah.
You don't want to do that. Get the cramp. Yeah. So what is something? What for you, Jeff?
My immediate thought was when I was in middle school, I went to a very strict Lutheran Christian school. And when I went to go to high school, I went to a public high school. And we were told basically that public high schools were dangerous and evil. And that I remember the phrase was that somebody stabbed somebody over a cookie. And so I went to high school so
You're
scared.
High school too?
Yeah. Yeah, everybody's high school, right? That happened there? Yeah, it was either a cookie or a Pokemon card. I can't remember which. But then you get to high school and you're like, oh, it's not, it's fine. Like, it was just the concept of coming from a Christian school of the evil secular high school. And then you realize you're going to a high school in a small town in the middle of Illinois and they're just as Christian there as you are in the actual Christian school. So
yeah,
that was a thing that thought to me. That was way overblown.
Kids actually got stabbed in my high school.
Oh, they did at mine too, but not over cookies.
Yeah, we used to get stabbed at high schools.
Yeah. Back in the good old days when you only got stabbed.
Good old days when kids brought knives to school.
So yeah, let us know what was overblown.
Yeah, exactly. Let us know what was an overblown fear as a child. I don't know. I just sort of have these crazy memories of everything we did in the 80s that kids now are you can't do it.
Yeah.
I don't know how we lived. Do you remember every year kids would come back to school, the first day of school and everyone would have a cast on? Like everyone.
That was me. I had a cast.
You don't see kids with casts anymore.
It's because they don't do casts the way they used to do them.
Well, yeah, true. Or maybe they're just more like kids are just not.
Oh, they don't let them
leaving their houses
now.
anymore.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like our playgrounds, like they didn't put soft shit on the bottom. You fell on cement.
It's cement, hot metal.
You went down that slide. It killed you on the way down.
Yeah.
And then you hit that bottom and it killed you when you got to the bottom. And then the teacher told you to brush it off and do it again.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Our playground in grade school was an asphalt parking lot. That is not a joke.
No, so was ours.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, yeah. I mean, kids just, I don't know. I don't know what they're doing. They're on their phones.
The way they would soften it is they would put wood chips down, which is like, oh, so now you got sharp, pointy things all over the ground.
So all the playgrounds here in Oregon are wood chips.
Yeah.
In California, they're all sand.
Yeah.
They're all like soft rubber.
Yeah.
And here, it's like, so when we first got here, our daughter was so traumatized because all she wanted was a sandbox. Like, so we bought her a sandbox and she just sometimes goes and lays in it. Just like, she goes to this place called Dig here in Portland, which is an indoor sand pit.
Yeah.
For kids because she misses the beach. She's just like, can I go play in the sand, please?
Yeah.
It's so funny. You take her to the park and she's like, I don't like this. It's sharp. I can't take my shoes off.
I would be interested to hear when Jenny is our age to what was overblown when she was a kid.
Everything.
Yeah.
Everything. We created a child. We took her skiing the other day. She went 4 feet, had a meltdown on the mountain, and we came straight home.
I mean, that's what I do now. So.
All right, you guys. This has been great. We will see you next Tuesday, and that's what's up.